I didn't prepare adequately at all. I just kept saying, oh, the hospital will guide me. The hospital will guide me. And that is the absolute wrong way to go about it. You need to prepare for your choices and options and for your babies. Hey everyone, it's the Constant Crafter. Thank you so much for joining me on my page. We just finished our Trying to Conceive journey video. Then I told you about my 2 different pregnancy stories. Now we have arrived to the labor and delivery story, and I did so many things different because I didn't want to have another traumatic labor and delivery like I did with my first. So for my second one, I studied, I researched, I showed up for myself, I had techniques in my back pocket, and I had a complete and utter redemption birth story. I'm going to share that with you now. Thank you so much for being here. One more thing for recap. I went in for my last appointment. I asked the doctor, I could wind up with anyone in this practice to deliver me at the hospital, depending on if I'm induced or if my labor is spontaneous. I said, are they going to have time to read my file and see that I hemorrhaged with my first son? And he said, you're going to say 4 things. He said, you're going to tell them this is your second child, that you gave birth within 3 hours with your first child, because that matters, that you hemorrhaged after your first son, and that you have polyhydramnios. You're going to tell them those 4 things. So here's my daughter's birth story. It was 7 o'clock in the morning on the dot. My son, we always had to wake him up in the morning, and for some reason he came in and he was like, hi mommy. I threw my blankets off myself and I sat up and I was like, good morning. And I felt a gush in our bed. Oh my gosh, Andy! And he's downstairs. He must have woke up early too. And he's like, what? My water just broke. No way. So he comes running up and I was like, oh my gosh, let me call the doctor. She's like, any contractions yet? And I said, no. And she said, okay, well, you can't have a baby without contractions. So she said, why don't you take a shower, just settle down and make your way in and we'll check you out when you get here. Which during my first labor and delivery, they said when contractions are 5 to 7 minutes apart. But I think because I went so quickly with my first, they were like, they want to get me in and they want to see where this went. So I take a shower, put on makeup, which one of the nurses commented on later on. This is the first thing I did. I went with a great, well-renowned hospital, a hospital I trusted. They helped my best friend. Oh, my other cousin too. So I said, I'm going straight to this hospital. They have little doctor's offices where you can go and do all your appointments that were local, but you give birth at this hospital with these awesome doctors, nurses, everything. Also, if I needed a NICU, which I was worried in that first pregnancy that he was going to come out and need a NICU, if anything happened to me, if I hemorrhaged again, I was in Boston with the best hospitals. I would get the care that I needed. And then I went downstairs and I'm packing a lunchbox. I'm packing snacks for my son because he's going to go with my dad for the day. I remember just being like, oh my gosh, here's a contraction. So I was like, as soon as I felt that first contraction, I was like, all right, we gotta go. I started listening to positive birth story podcasts. So I liked the Birth Hour. I liked Birthful. I would listen to those around the clock with headphones on. If my son was watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and he was fine and he was content, I had my earbud in and I was listening and trying to consume as many birth stories as I could, as many questions to ask the providers as I could. I get everybody down. We got our hospital bags. I kissed my son goodbye. I felt so heartbroken my whole pregnancy for that moment where we leave as 2 and we come back as 3. It made me cry every single time I thought about it, but I had no time to sit and think about it. I was just like, all right, buddy, we're going to get your sister. We're going to have this baby. And I gave him a hug. My mom took one last picture of us, just him being my only child. And then we got in the car and we went. I started watching birth stories early in my pregnancy, watching actual live births. It's weird. At times I was scared, and at times I was just like, go, go, go. I was glad that I did it. We went, and my mom is obsessed with honeydew. She gets a hot tea from Honeydew every single day. So there's a honeydew right before we get on the highway, and I was like, stop by Honeydew. Are you sure? And I was like, yeah, you guys need breakfast. We don't know how long this is going to take. We're in the honeydew line, and I want to be like, I'm in labor, they're getting honeydew. But I didn't. I was okay most of the ride, and then when we got off the highway, we are in Boston traffic, and it's just busy streetlights, people walking all over the city, and then they're running through the lights, just literally running across the street during your green light, and jaywalking. And I remember just getting so mad. I'm in the back and I'm timing my contraction. I remember just being like, oh my gosh, just get me there, please. We're 0.3 away. I'll just walk. And I had that moment with my son too, where we were going so slow on the highway in the middle of that snowstorm, and I almost felt like he was coming out. Pull over. We're not going to make it. But I mean, I was like, well, do I want to give birth on the side of the road with my husband or in an ambulance? Or like, we should probably just keep going and maybe he'll fall out or something. I don't know. So back to my daughter's story. I remember having that moment where I was like, I'm going to walk. I'll make it there before you guys drive there. Labor and delivery meditation tracks, hypnosis tracks. And so the visualizing and the using those tracks felt like it set me up on a good track. First pregnancy, there were so many people yelling at me. There were so many people touching me and hooking things up to me. I was so overstimulated. I could not focus at all. And I knew I had to do everything different the second time. The second time, it was about my body, my baby, and my mind. And I was able to focus on the job at hand and get her out. I also didn't start listening to them until 29 weeks. And I remember being close to delivery and being like, I should have been doing this for the past 10 weeks. I didn't do this enough. I'm not going to be prepared. And like, it was enough. Thank goodness. And he drops me and my mom off and we walk into triage. I like sat down like this, just so you know, my contractions are under 3 minutes apart. And I had my first son within 3 hours. And the lady was just like typing on the computer. She's like, name, age, birthday. I tell her that and she's like, okay, address, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't think she heard me. I need to get upstairs now. Like, I'm about to have this baby on your floor. And she's just typing away. And then she finishes what she's doing. She grabs something from the printer and she's like, okay, follow me. And I was like, no wheelchair? How am I supposed to march up to the maternity floor right now? You know what? More walking, more gravity. Let's walk this baby out. And I marched. And I remember stopping on like the ramp and being like, my mom's like, hold on a second. We get upstairs and they were like, okay, you can just wait in the waiting area. Are they serious? Do you guys know how fast this is going to go? I felt it. My contractions were so painful at this point, and they were coming one after another, and I'm standing in the waiting area. I don't think we sat. We might have sat for a moment, just consuming any labor and delivery advice, stories, reading blogs, all that. I felt like I was ready. And I looked at her and I go, think 9. And she goes, what? Think 9 centimeters. And I go in there. I want to hear them say, you're 9 centimeters. Because if I go in there and I'm 5 centimeters, I don't know what I'm going to do. Because this is so painful. And now I remember the first time. They end up calling me right away. We walk in, jump up on the bed. I have to tell you 4 things. And she goes, okay, what's the 4 things? So I list them off to her and she goes, great. Okay, I'm going to check you and see how far you're dilated. Wow. She goes, you're a 9. And I go, oh. And my mom is like in the back and she's like, so excited, right? And then another nurse comes in and the lady looks at her and she goes, so she's an 8.5, 9. Listen, I normally love a discount, but like, you said 9. You didn't say 8.5. No takesy backsies. So this is me when I got in that row. I was like, can you take a picture of me in so much pain? Just, can you take one last picture of me with a baby in my belly? Because I am not getting pregnant again. One of the pregnancy pieces of advice I got was to breathe in for 4 and breathe out for 4. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. When my contractions started becoming very painful, that turned into this too shall pass. This too shall pass. And that helped me so much. So then the wheelchair comes in. All right, can we get you in the wheelchair? And I'm like, ugh. And then I sit down in the wheelchair and I remember just being like, I don't know where they're taking me. And tell her your 4 things. You tell her. Why do I have to tell her? I told you. You're supposed to tell everyone now. Like, isn't that how it works? I told her my 4 things, and I was like, I think she's trying to keep my mind off everything that's happening. But I was like, I hadn't yelled yet. I was just like whispering. This is my story. When people are like, oh, how was your labor and delivery or whatever? I'm like, I walked into the hospital, walked up to the maternity floor, because I did 9 centimeters, and I was whispering to people, not freaking out, not swearing, not yelling like my first. In control, right? That is all the preparation that I did. So then I'm in my wheelchair, I meet another nurse, and it's like, follow the yellow brick road, follow the yellow brick road. Tell her your 4 things. And I was like, you tell her the 4 things. Why do I have to tell her the 4 things? So I repeat myself again, and I'm humoring this lady at this point, but man, if you're watching this, You ticked me off that day. Again, I think she's trying to take my mind off of everything. Focus my mind, focus my energy. It was bringing on the contractions. With my son, I was scared to death of the contractions. I remember being in the car. No! Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. I know they hurt so bad, but if you really flip your mindset and you think, my body is opening, the baby's coming, as soon as the baby's out, my contractions will stop. That will help you. We're bringing on the contractions. We are not Xing away the contractions. And then they took me to the delivery room. And so I get into the bed and I'm just like, can you guys like talk to me? Can you guys just tell me what you're doing and why? Because my first experience, nobody talked to me and I just felt like a robot. And they were like, oh, they're like, usually nobody wants us to talk to them. And they're like, yeah. They're like, all right, we're setting you up for an IV in case you hemorrhage again. I was like, excuse me? Yep. And like 3 of them look over. The doctor is now in the room getting ready. And I didn't notice though, which is a funny thing I say in a minute, but can you tell me when I'm in transition so that I know I made it? And they were like, oh, honey, you're well past transition. I am? Oh yeah, you're not going to be pregnant for much longer. Is this a delivery room? And then I saw them wheel the little baby bassinet in and I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening. And then I see her get all gowned up and I was like, they're like about to lift my legs up. And I haven't screamed one time. And I was so proud of myself. Getting emotional. I'm getting emotional. That's birth preparation. That is labor and delivery birth preparation. And also, side note, I also listen to emergency C-section birth stories, induction birth stories, because I didn't know what kind of birth I was going to be having. I knew the induction pills brought on strong contractions, and I wanted to know how quickly. I listened to all the stories. One other thing that I did that helped me through labor and delivery was I put positive pregnancy affirmations on index cards, and I had them ready for my husband so that he wouldn't just like stand there and not know what to say. He very much wanted to like give me space, but then like I wanted him, but then I would also like push him away at the same time. So that was with my first. So now with my second, he wanted to be more involved, but just in case he didn't know what to say to me, like, you're doing great, honey, go team. I printed out cards. Did he need them? No, because I went so quickly. But at least this time, he wasn't getting yelled at and he wasn't hiding. We were both ready for the second one. They lifted my legs up and they said, push, push, push. And at one point, it hurt so bad, I couldn't take it anymore. And I was just like, ah! And they say if you scream during labor, you're pushing wrong. And so that doctor went, nope. She went, you stay in control. She's like, you have been amazing this whole time. I'm like, you're right. I'm so sorry. I lost focus for a second. Like, I'm like, yeah, stay in control. And then I'm just pushing and pushing and pushing. Again, ring of fire. Never a friend of the ring of fire. Never. Push past it. She has to come out. I'm not holding her in because it's painful. I'm getting her out so it's not painful anymore because your contractions stop after. And I pushed with all my might and she was here. My mom said it was 13 minutes. The doctor at my first postpartum appointment said it was 10 minutes. 3 pushes, delivered with ease. And I was like, I am here for that title. That sounded so dramatic, but it was so celebratory, and I'm here for that. My daughter did come out jaundice, so she had to go under the lamps. Are we allowed to eat? And they said, absolutely. And he ran across the way and got me a chicken sandwich, and I was happy as a lamb. She's our Christmas baby, our Christmas miracle. When we were coming home on Christmas Eve, it was flurrying. And I thought that was so cute because like one baby was born in the middle of 2 blizzards and this massive snowstorm. Couldn't get to the hospital, like your typical movie birth. And my daughter was born and it was almost like a celebration with the snowflakes. That is my 2 birth stories. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. I am Jen, the Constant Crafter. We also have safe and appropriate kids content on the Constant Kid, and every birth matters. And you're not more or less because your birth went a different way. You just had to pivot. If you did not have the labor and delivery of your dreams the first time, I am hoping that it can be a little better that second time or third time. I just want women to walk away being like, I did it. I'm a warrior.